we're going to start again.
It feels a bit repetitive. We just talk about that, and to be fair, we've come a long way. We've done all the classes. We're now down to just our almost the showpiece of this set, which is the hybrid cards that because obviously didn't get a talent. And I've got you two still here, still putting up with me and my nasty interest. I'll actually be nice on this one. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Actually
Uh,
didn't insult us.
uh,
Holy shit.
I'm scared and confused. Why didn't he insult us? So I'm worried now.
Sorry, you pair of dickheads. How are you? How art
Well,
they?
there's
Oh,
Brooks.
there we go. Now I'm
Just
feeling at home.
making sure that you feel at home and comfortable. It's been an interesting ride going through all of Outsiders.
It really has, yeah. It's we are making our way through it. So yeah, we've been through all the classes now, seen some interesting cards. So yeah, onto the hybrids, I guess now.
Yeah.
And for those that haven't realised this, we've recorded this in one goddamn session.
It's been a long one for
Don't
us.
tell them. Don't tell them we've done this all at once. But no, we've it's been a long one, but a good one. And I think it's about time we seal this off. So we'll go over our hybrids and our generics, and then we'll give our general thoughts on the set and how we're feeling ahead of what feels like an eternity waiting for pre-release, and then actually getting some boxes to crack open. So without any further ado, and let's face it, people get bored of me talking. I've spoken a lot. Let's go into Assassin Ninja. So
Ooh, we can get to start with the legendary, right? I mean, I think this is the most interesting legendary of the set. To be fair, with flick knives.
yeah, I'd agree with that.
I mean, it's so incredibly interesting. The ability to use the Jaggers for an alternate purpose to ping them at somebody, they break. And I mean, when we first saw this as well, right, we had no real idea of how you recur these or anything like that. But yeah, such an interesting idea that it also triggers it on here. I really like flick knives. I think when we looked at it, right, it's not a lot. I don't know about you guys. I don't think there's enough interaction in that archetype, which I guess when we look at some of the other cards here, that there's enough there for me. But I love the idea of it.
Yeah, it really feels to me like flavorfully the fact that Assassins and Ninjas they both got the little one-handed daggers, whether you're throwing your Orbiclasts or whether you're throwing your Kodachis or whatever potential daggers in the future, and the whole Assassin Ninja package is built around making this work,
Mm.
and whether it's throwing them, whether it's stab wound, where it's because all of these daggers are going to count as hits, and you're going to get the on-hit effects as well. Which is probably more relevant for Assassin than it is for Ninja.
I mean, you say that. I mean, if only like they count. They like hits, ninjas. I mean, like Mask of Momentum requires it. So I mean that
true,
would will add a chain link. Obviously, it won't trigger the mask itself because it's a weapon hitting, but still, it
Salt
will
wound?
adds a link there, which is hit. So it's good.
And I did stuff like stab wounds and
Like you say,
getting cheaper attacks. I think the only thing for me and this whole package, and we can go into a little bit more detail, is there's only one way to actually get new daggers, and I
yeah,
feel like
that's
that
the big
really,
limiter.
and that's an on-hit reaction. It really, really hampers the
And a
consistency.
majestic. So
Yeah.
you're only getting three, right? You got three chances to get your daggers back. It is such a cool piece of design space. This idea that you can get into your sideboard, you can grab a dagger out, and like you say, that he's this concealed weapon that a ninja or an assassin has been keeping on them. Such cool, so cool thematically. A really unexplored design place, and just I don't think it's unfortunately there. One other thing I'd love to say though is this art on flick knives. Oh, it's fantastic.
It's
I
a
really
player
like
mat
this.
through and through, right?
It is. It
Well,
is. It's a shame that we're not going to get access to the playmat that they've done for it, with it being a Star City Games. So here in the UK, not going to be one we're going to be seeing.
no, it makes me so sad that that's an exclusive playmat. That should be one
Yeah,
that's
same
given to
here.
everyone, or
I would
just
love to get my hands on one of
available
those,
in an
but
armory kit.
ain't happening.
I know. Yeah. Liam?
I don't know how. I'm a little bit underwhelmed. I think I don't get me wrong. I think the design space is super unique
Hmm.
and super interesting, and I'll be interested to see where it goes in future sets. But right now, I think it's just a bit meh. Like I don't think I would ever play flick knives in my deck. Like, I'd rather just have Goliath Gauntlet and not throw my daggers and not waste up sideboard space
Yeah,
throwing daggers.
I get that. I mean, the only thing is, if you get to the end of the game with this, like 2 damage is 2 damage either way, and this is a block as well. I mean, it's theoretically still worth 3, right? If you flick your daggers and block.
Yeah, I get it. But I just don't think it's enough for me.
I do agree with you. For me as well, like theme wise, it's a 5 all day, every day. Like I love the theme and the design space 5 wise, but in reality, with the way it is right now, we're talking more of a 3. Um, just I don't think there's quite enough support there for it, despite the fact that I think most of these hybrid cards for Assassin Ninja kind of theme around it and around daggers, and it just isn't quite enough. I don't think.
I think the theme, design space, 100% a 5, and the uniqueness of it. But I think it's probably a 2.5 for me for like power level into the current decks and stuff.
Yeah, it's 100% something I want to try. Something I'd probably take to a local armory where it obviously doesn't matter as much, but I think just in the whole package, things like bleed out, maybe I don't mind if you're doing dagger, and then it's a free forward go again. But it feels like it just needed a little bit more consistency, like whether concealed blade was in a rainbow or something like that, just so you can actually, if it's going to be an on hit that you get these things back, just give me access to a little more of it to try and actually be able to re-equip these daggers. So yeah, I think I hate the fact that I agree with Liam on this. It's a 2.5 because, like, say, the theme is so good, but I think it has to be a probably, like, say, 2.5, very middling.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly middling.
You say all this, right, and watch me go and die to fucking flick knives in the semi-finals of a calling or something stupid, and I'd be like, you know what? I was a fucking moron for saying this was bad.
I think you will die to this at some point. I'd be incredibly shocked if somebody doesn't kill me with flick knives at some point, and that the card is still good. But trying to decide at the point you give up your daggers to do this unless it's lethal, and at which point, I don't know, is there probably an argument that maybe you'd have been better with some amount of block there that you'd used, maybe. But yeah, I think somebody will kill you, and I think it is much more interesting for assassins, like you say, with the on hits. The ability to reduce your opponent's defense is definitely good.
Yeah, it's like I say, it feels like, and if this is something that gets supported in the future, I'll be all for it. And like I say, this will kill people. I just don't think it's gonna. I think it's one of those where you're on the other side of this and you're playing it. You're gonna be wondering where your next concealed blade is, and are you actually? Because if you throw both your daggers and they don't die, you know, some nonsense prevention effect.
Yeah, for sure. Like you say, someone will die to this, but then people die to breaking scales, and it's a very good card. But I'm not sure this is there too. I don't know.
And then pushing on hits with Goliath if you're playing an assassin. So yeah, but I'm not. It's disappointing, but at least something I'm still very willing to try. And there's a whole package around it with buffs to your daggers and stuff, which I don't see this particularly useful because I'm not trying to +1 on your daggers from plunges.
Yeah, for sure. There's like I say, there's bits and pieces around this card that maybe will make it good one day. But I mean, I guess on to shifting perspective.
Shifting perspective to Assassin Ranger.
No, it's the Mask of Shifting Perspective.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Literally the next one across.
Yeah. Again, it's. I mean, this could be cool if you're going for that big turn where you are going to go, right, I am going to try and kill you. I need to filter my hand to try and get to the concealed blade.
I don't know. Maybe that'll be there. Maybe it'll be good for that. I don't see this one being used for the block. I think it's actually one of the poorer piece of draft equipment for me. Like this one doesn't get you an effect on with it, like and the block. You can't use it for both. And the effect is okay, but you've got to hit with a dagger to activate like this kind of sync effect.
It's going to look very good in cold foil.
It sure will. Again, the art, they've smashed it this set. It looks amazing on a lot of these cards. And this one, I'm sure, will look very good in cold foil. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not as hot on this one as some of the other the other draft pieces.
I think I'm hotter on this one than most. I actually
Really?
really like this card. Yeah, I think the attack reaction to fix like a bricked hand in limited and draft can be a real lifesaver. It really can.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like, it's a reasonable effect. I think I'll be using it for the block more often. I'm a much bigger fan of the Ranger one we saw last time. I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe it's a 3. Like I said, it's got a bit more utility if you're just gonna you got a really bricked hand. You just go dagger, react, because let's face it, they're probably not going to block the dagger, and then
Probably not. No.
and actually just gives you that sync effect just to try and fix it, and then you've always got the second dagger if you need to follow up.
I give it a
Yeah.
3. For sure.
Yeah, I think I'm good. I think I'd go with the 2 just because I also think that I think the one thing we might be underestimating here is I think a sync effect on your own turn is just significantly weaker than like the actual sync below, where you get to do it on their turn and therefore plan your turn ahead of time. Not knowing what you're going to get until you've already pitched, already hit with your dagger, and then getting a card, I think, is a little weaker.
Blade Cuff.
Yeah. I do quite like this one. I think 2 cost is a little steep.
Very steep.
I mean, the other thing is it's a persistent effect, but I think if you start looking at this like
Heatwave,
right? Exactly. Heatwave was free, I believe.
it is,
Yeah.
and it's an instant, not an action.
Exactly right. So you could do it in the reaction step. This just seems like a very poor Heatwave. I know it's got the 1 block, but then Heatwave had Quell, which was arguably better than 1 block. I know obviously you got to pay for it, but you're also not paying for this effect. So, and you sometimes, occasionally in that set at least got the both effects in it. You got to Quell and attack react against Icelander. This, on the other hand, just I don't know. It just seems a bit steep. I like the effect though. The effect is good.
I think actually the better comparison is Gallantry Gold.
For sure,
which
yeah.
is 1. Your weapons get your weapons get +1, and it was 1 battle 1.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just straight up worse than that.
I think you'll find niches for use in limited. I think if your opponent's on 2 and you've obviously got 2 Kodachis, I think pushing them for 2 each is can start getting your opponents that can actually look a little bit quicker. But it's expensive, but it's fine.
I don't think you're going to do this in Assassin, because it's going to cost you 2 for this, 2 for first dagger, 2 for the second dagger. So you're pitching 2 blues to swing for 4.
Yeah, I think you're probably just going to be blocking with it if you're playing Assassin. Like you said, it's probably a bit pricey for that. I'd have been quite happy, particularly with this being an action and it being so much more upfront. I'd have been perfectly happy with this just being free.
Yeah.
2.5.
Probably 2.
Yeah, I think it's like a 1.5 for me. It's pretty good. I like the fact that it's got block, but so's everything in this set.
Yeah. Then we've got the M's, like we said, stab wound. So every time you've hit with a dagger, if this hits, the life, and then concealed blade and knives out. I love the art on knives out. In fact, I love the art on most of these, to be honest. But again, the whole package just doesn't feel coherent to me. I'd rather play knives out though than the. But at least, in fact, knives out blocks 3 and it gives you daggers +1, so it's a free version of the blade cuff. But it's still not good.
I agree. The package is underwhelming. I think none of them. I think stab wounds are actually the standout card out of them 3 for me. But if you are playing the flick knives package, being able to push more damage.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like a 2, and I don't really like it.
Honestly, the only thing is as well, like stab wounds kind of feels like a Benji card with flick knives, where you could maybe like attack them twice with daggers and then flick them at them, and then you get to stab wound and it's unblockable because like someone's just gonna see the opportunity for this to block a lot more than it normally would and drop a card in front of stab wound. But like you say, I find them all a bit underwhelming on the whole. I think.
Yeah, flat 2 for me on all.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with that too. I think I like Bleed Out probably the most, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if we quite got to yet.
I think Bleed Out's got more utility generally across the board when it comes to it, but
I could see this getting some play in Ninja at Red. The opportunity to do this following 2 Kodachis, that it should be playable whether they block the second Kodachi or if they don't block any. Great. you get it for free, and it's got to go again naturally, which I quite like.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's I'd give it a 2.5.
I'd give Bleed Out a 3. I think
I,
it's
I,
quite actually a reasonable card, to be honest. I think Assassin and Ninja will probably end up playing this because I don't see the weapons getting blocked too much in limited play. So I think Bleed Out's going to be a 0 for 4 quite a bit of the time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I'm much more with Liam on that one. And I mean, even for Assassin, obviously with the blades being a little bit more expensive, you could still pitch a blue one attack with a dagger and then come in with this. Just off one blue pitch, which I think is perfectly good, right? It's not bad at all.
Yeah, what's one card for 5, right?
Yeah, I think that's okay, particularly in limited. I don't think that's too bad here. Like I say, so I'd give it a 3 as well. I think, Liam.
Hurl. It's almost the same problem as Flick Knives.
It is Flick Knives, isn't it? Right, but you have to pay 1 for the privilege.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan personally. It's like a 2, I think, for me.
Yeah, I agree. Not a fan of this at all.
Yeah, I was actually gonna go 1.5, maybe 2.
That honestly, that seems pretty reasonable to me. Like, how often am I going to want to pay the 1 here to flick a knife him? And again, unless it's going to be lethal, probably not. I can see myself killing opponents with this in limited every now and then because you give up your dagger at that point. But if you do give up your daggers too early, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's all these cards feel like they've late game good, start game you are never going to play them.
Yeah, for sure.
If they block 3, you might have a little bit more with them, but plunge, it's fine. One for 3. It's never going to make you excited with a non-hit.
Yeah, it's a bit below rate. This, by all means. What I also don't like about this is particularly for Assassin is the fact that you want to play this and then dagger.
Yeah.
Because obviously with Assassin you want to be getting this to you want to be debuffing their attacks before they get a chance to block you. You want to be debuffing all those defensive cards, and this just doesn't do that. This wants to hit and then you swing with the dagger. I mean, I think it's a slightly better fit for Ninja, but I don't think it's that much better. I'm probably going to go for a 1.5 on this one. I'm just not particularly impressed.
I'm going to give it a 1. Very, very, very underwhelming card.
Uno for me. And then the last Assassin Ninja, short and sharp. I just don't like this. I don't know why they keep printing. I mean, obviously in limited, fine. You might sneak over with this. If you swing with your plunge, you get +1. Then you swing with a dagger for 2, and then buff it with this. It gets very specific. It's very expensive. This is never. I don't see this getting any play in CC.
Yeah, no, I can't either. And I mean, I get, like you say, I get that they need to print some of these ones for limited. But I think this could have blocked 3 and it would have been fine. We obviously had rapid reflex in Uprising, which the one thing you could say about it that was nice was it blocked 3. This, you can't say that. And it still has the attack reaction, the attack action, restriction of 2 or less.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, this is just a Benji draft card, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably still get you some kills if you're playing Katsu or if you're playing an Assassin where you can just throw it on the dagger in limited, but still, it's not great.
Nah, it's
1.5.
To be fair, actually, I think the nicest thing you can do with this, for me, is probably as a Zori. I think you could technically put this on a sneak attack yellow.
Yeah.
Off a blue, which is actually not bad. Or if I didn't have off blue, if you had Zori into play, but you could whack this on a sneak attack, making it 10. Because that's technically. Oh no, not 10. Be 8.
9. It'd be 9.
9 even. Yeah, it would be 9.
You get a bit cute at that point, right?
For sure, but I mean that is the sort of thing that wins limited games, particularly in reaction.
True.
Your opponent's calculated how much damage they reckon you'll do, and you're able to just push in a little bit extra. I think it's okay. I just think it would have been fine if it blocked 3, and I think for me that's why it's still a 1.5.
Yeah, 1.5. Let's move on with our lives because, like I say, a lot of potential, and I feel like it either needs a little bit more, or like I say, usually I think most of this would be more dagger recursion for me, really up the ante. Let's look at Assassin Ranger, Mask of Malicious Manifestations. Try and say that fast 3 times. Don't actually,
Yeah, that
don't
would be
actually
quite
try
something.
it.
No, we're not going to try it. You're all good.
Good.
This
I
is
can
a
barely
useful
speak
one.
English.
Well, we know
I
that.
think this is useful. I like it for the fact that like Riptide's probably going to be very defensive. He's probably going to hoover up all the traps he can possibly find, and this does give him the ability to just go and search for an attack, which is pretty cool, particularly in limited.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably take this as a headpiece over the other one if I was playing Assassin, because I've got access to both. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for Ranger as well, I'd probably take this if I was in Riptide over the one that lets me look at the top of the deck, which feels much more for Azalea. This seems absolutely fine. Like I say, despite the fact that you don't get the block and the effect, it's at least allows you to serve a function in that deck.
That's a reasonable card.
So yeah, I think it's probably a 2 for me.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah, let's go 2. I'm quite happy with it.
Fair enough.
Well, it's one of those. It's just very middling card.
Mm-hmm.
Again, all the masks I think are going to look gorgeous in cold foils. Toxic Tips is an arm piece.
That it is.
It's...
Yeah, I like this one. I don't know about you guys. Again, paying 1, I guess, maybe a little bit, but at least we're not paying 2 for this. I like being able to give an on-hit effect. This is probably going to be one of the draft pieces of equipment that I value quite highly compared to the others. Just being able to push an on-hit through like that, choosing which token you get when you hit after you've seen their blocks is pretty good. I like this.
Yeah, I really like Toxic Tips. I think it's just trying to give one of your not relevant, but like one of your attacks that are quite vanilla and on hit is can we make forcing your opponents to blocks is gonna be pretty good. I like this.
I also feel like Azalea is going to benefit from this just because she's going to be able to know roughly when her opponent's probably not going to be able to block out an attack. You know, when the large dominated arrow is going to be able to come through and you've got that 1 extra resource because you've got a bit more pitch than you need. This you could just spend it on this and push through some extra damage, or push through an inertia.
I mean, for me, it would have been great if this was a reaction, but that probably makes it a little bit too good for a common piece of equipment.
Yeah, that's probably fair. It maybe would be a little bit, but I would have been okay with it.
It would have been strong without being ridiculous. I'm higher on this than the mask. Maybe 2.5. Virginal. Especially draft,
3.
maybe 3.
Yeah, I think it's a 3.5 for me. I think it's like I said, I think it's my favorite piece of draft equipment on the whole. That and the Ranger headpiece, I think. So yeah, no, I like it a lot.
So let's move on to the 3 Marvels we've got this set, which are the codexes or codices. I think for me, again, Bloodrot's always going to be the one that I look at first, and I kind of regret looking at it because it's literally someone's ear and a nose on a book.
These, I mean, I haven't tried Inertia much, but these have been outperforming themselves for me. These have been amazingly good. I was not entirely sold on them originally, but actually they've, like I say, every time I've seemed to get them, play them, they've been better than I expected. Bloodrot in particular, Frailty for Azalea seems amazing. And yeah, I just think they're some fantastic cards. Like Bloodrot being able to force your opponent to put a card into Arsenal when they don't want to is from their hand. It's really good at stripping block and pushing damage.
I've been really enjoying Codex of Bloodrot and Assassin. Like if your opponent's not got an Arsenal, you can either force the Bloodrot to strip their block, so to speak, and then you can also play like you see Leave No Witnesses to target that card in Arsenal, which is pretty good. I've also been enjoying Codex of Frailty in Azalea. I think being able to find those the arrows is it's just like an extra arrow, right? It's just like Memorial Ground as you compared it to. Bro.
Yeah,
George.
It feels like a bit like a nicer, better Memorial Ground that gives you a ponder. I mean, I know it's obviously not quite the same thing because you're not getting it on top of the deck, but it is arrow recursion still. And I mean, we pulled off some pretty nasty turns with it actually when we've been playing. Like I said, the card outperformed exactly what I wanted to do. And the Frailty token comes up more than I think I thought it would originally. Obviously, there are a couple of heroes that are very weapon focused, and it hurts them. And in the Ranger mirror, or whether it be Azalea or Lexi, that one makes a difference.
I mean, I think I did see the point of in CC you don't play the Blood Rot or the Codex of Inertia into Icelander. Just put more blues into their arsenal.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah, you don't really want to be playing many of them into Oldhim either, because watching Crown of Seeds in response and then get another Arsenal card, probably not the way to go.
But I really the whole package I actually really quite like them, and obviously you getting slightly more control and the ponder and them getting the negatives. I think I'd give the Codex of Blood Rot a 4 and the other 2 or 3. Maybe.
I think the Codex of Blood Rot and Frailty were closer than I thought they were going to be. I think they're both at least a 4 point, maybe not 4.5. I'll give the two of them a 4. And Inertia, I just haven't tried enough. Maybe a 3.5.
I'll go Inertia 3 because I've not tested it yet. Blood Rot Frailty, I'm going to go 4.5. These cards have impressed me a lot.
They are. I just want to keep putting them in decks, honestly. It's just like, I think about like trying to find space for them in my Lexi builds that I've currently got, because they just feel so good when you play them.
I think doing something like this, especially if you're going to start hitting and getting some more on hits and reducing block, I just really like, especially for Blood Rot. Then we get Death Touch, which is one we got spoiled earlier. There was some question whether we thought this might be M's, and it's not. We do get the full rainbow, which is kind of cool because I really like this card.
Card is poggers.
Yeah, getting a 1-cost relevant on hit for in the 4 to 6 range is pretty damn good, to be honest. And again, getting the choice of token to give them after the hit, I think is really good. Fantastic card. I don't even care that it blocks too.
I think especially in Azuri, this is kind of one of the ones I'd really want to draft to be able to get alongside my stealth attacks to flash in.
Yeah, for sure. This feels pretty good. I think also possibly alongside Riptide too. In Riptide, this is going to feel pretty good. I like the card a lot. It just really really solid effect on the rate that you're getting.
4.5 for me.
Yeah, I think a 4 for me.
I think I'd go 4.5. I was almost tempted by a 5 on the red.
Oof, damn.
I'd like to say I really like the idea of flashing that and just give them an extra 2, because it's almost like it can effectively be like a free 8 damage potentially.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, 1 for 8 off a tunic count is fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
It's like Mirage and Metamorph all over again.
It's similar to the stat line, isn't it? I suppose to some extent.
I think pardon me. I think Toxicity is an interesting card.
Yeah, for sure. I like this card a lot. It's an interesting one, obviously, because it's theoretically insane on rate, right? Like a 0 for 5 is completely nuts. But then, of course, it's got the same problem as a lot of like quite impactful cards, particularly some of the Ranger cards in the past, that it just encourages you to block. I've seen people somewhat compare it to like Poison the Tips, which I think is quite an apt one, of that it's a really powerful effect, but your opponent should just drop their whole hand in front of it. Or at least enough to amply cover it anyway. And this kind of suffers from that a little bit for me. Whether you can maybe get your consistency in Azalea enough that you can push this on hit through comfortably. If you can, then it's an amazing effect. But I don't know if I've seen enough of that yet. It's also a weird one with Azuri, I think.
Yeah, I think any pre-buff that mentions your next attack is kind of a bit weird with it, because they'll happily block the 3, and if you switch it out, this effect then disappears.
Yeah, sadly, because the attack's gained it, we do believe at least it will disappear, which is a shame. Because obviously, I think this makes it a bit of a low draft pick for me. If I was going for Azuri, I don't think I'd be picking these up very highly whatsoever.
I don't think I'd be picking them up, to be honest. I think there'll be higher value targets, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a shame, because I think the art's really cool. I think.
Yeah, I like the artwork actually.
I mean, I'm feeling 2.5 on this. It encourages a block.
I think 2.5 is where I'm at. Like I say, I'm skeptical about how impactful it's going to be, but I'd like to test it a little more.
I'll put it at a 3. I think this is the kind of card that will really punish people that don't understand or like play around the certain reactions.
Mm.
I think there's a lot of playability in there, a lot of mind games to be had with reactions for sure. But yeah, I think there's a if it hits, what a truck of a card. If it doesn't,
Oh god, yeah.
you just getting blocks, right? So yeah, I'll go with 3.
Virulent Touch was the one of the more metal style spoilers we got from the boys at Push the Point. I really liked it. I mean, we saw some real mix of spoiler videos, and but I don't know what to make of the card. It's part of me thinks I really like it. It's got the tagline that Death Touch does. If it's defended by a card, create a blood pox. I don't know.
Yeah,
This card really didn't do it for me.
Mm.
I played it a little bit, and I found it just to be very unimpressive, and I cut it quite quickly.
Yeah, I do still think there's something for this in a control style Riptide sort of build where you need to find a way to punish people for blocking. But the card did underwhelm what I was expecting it to do. So I think it's got to be slightly below average for me, about a 2.
Yeah, I think two's fair. I mean, I'd like it if it had a little bit more attack. Putting it on something, you might look at it with Azuri, but
I don't know. For me, I don't think you needed the text on this for you can't play it from hand. I think the attack line is fine. I just think you didn't need that restriction personally.
I agree with that.
Yeah, 2.
Then we got a couple more traps.
Yes.
Again, I assume we're going to be in a position where Blood Rot is always going to be more interesting than Frailty or Inertia, but
Do you
again,
know what? No, I don't think so.
oh,
For me, this one, the blood rot might be the weaker one, just because I think it's the actual trigger for it is the hardest to achieve. I think the inertia might actually be the best, and I think that also comes partly down to the fact that inertia is much more impactful when it's given on your opponent's turn. When they aren't planning for it in their turn, and you give it mid-turn, and it messes things up for them, it's much more impactful than you giving it on your turn and them having their entire time in their blocks planned and everything sorted that they know how to make the best use of their cards. So I actually think Blood Rot is possibly the worst. Obviously, if you get it off, the payoff is very good. But I think actually the frailty and the inertia are much easier to trigger.
I think he summed that up perfectly, to be honest.
Wow, that's a rare
high
day.
praise.
But yeah, no, I don't think if there's anything more. I mean, what do you think, Brooks, on that one? I mean, you still think Blood Rot is
I
the
think
one to go?
again, I think if you're going into, because I'm always seeing this as someone who plays a lot of reactions anyway, so I've got a slightly rose-tinted lens towards reactions. I think when you've got someone like an Azuri who's going to be doing a lot, just flashing this in when potentially not, a bit like you said with the inertia, they've not considered maybe leaving some pitch behind to be able to stop this. If you've got them at a fairly low life, preventing 3, and if they've got no cards left, they are going to take the 2 damage because they might not have planned for this to be the case. I really like your point about the inertia trap, though. Obviously, when you can't plan for it, it's like one of the issues a Seek can destroy to some extent, is you can just try and play your hand as efficiently as possible to limit the
Yeah, for
effect
sure.
on it. So if
This
you
is
had
this
that
is
effect
nice. At
suddenly
least
appear,
it's definitely more impactful. I know that for certain. Like, I think this will be one that will hamper a lot of Lexi players, particularly. When they tend to finish their turn with that +1 on the final arrow. This is impactful because they might be trying to hold a card back to set up a big turn. They want an Arsenal card, and this just it drops on the last one. They don't have any go again afterwards. It triggers because of the +1 from Voltaire, and then it just completely messes up their attempt to set up a bigger turn.
also, you look at the sort of wounded bull kind of list where it gets the +1, the planet being lower life. Just make sure they don't have that Arsenal card.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, into
Icelander.
Icelander, like it's fine. I'm not sure I'm going to be wanting to run a defense reaction into Icelander all that often. But yeah, if you get it on the Wounded Bull, it would strip their arsenal, which would be obviously impactful into Icelander, particularly because if they're playing Wounded Bull, they probably haven't played a non-tag action and can't Waning Moon you to make use of the card.
Yeah, like I say, what would you rate it as a package or individually?
2.5 for Blood Rot. I'd
Yeah.
go 3 for Frailty and Inertia.
Okay.
Oh, you going higher for the Blood Rot?
No, lower
No,
for Blood Rot.
lower.
Lower
2.5.
for
Yeah.
2.5. Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, I think 3.5 for Inertia for me, 3 for Frailty, 2.5 for Blood Rot.
So yeah, I'd give Blood Rot and Inertia 3 and Frailty 2.5.
I don't know. I think test that one. I think you'll come to our way of thinking on the Blood Rot. I just don't
Yeah.
think it triggers enough.
I think I think with all this, also I've probably played the least. Have actually doing work. So I think, like I say, it might well be as a test. These I can see they've all got value, and like I say, just being able to have more traps to throw into something like a Riptide, and if you're gonna start getting those triggered effects as well, you're not gonna be sad about that.
No. Well, I mean, I think that rounds out our Assassin Ranger cards, right? So are we on to the generics?
We are indeed, and we start with an L, and
Oh, yes.
I mean we had some disappointing ones in the Rangers, and Van Bracer Determination really, I'm really not sure on it. It feels like the
Yeah.
anti-Crown of Seeds tech that people probably thought, but it just seems bad.
Honestly, I think to the fact that this is one of the more interesting L's of the set, outside of Flick Knives, I think tells me what I need to know about the quality of legendaries in the set, honestly. This doesn't excite me. And like you say, I guess maybe this is their attempted answer to Crown of Seeds. I want to test that, I suppose, is probably what I should say. But I don't like the second line of this text at all. This feels very bad compared to Phantasmal Footsteps, or like why not give it a Phantasmal Footsteps kind of effect where it maybe breaks if certain things happen, or something like that. I feel like that would be a bit better. Like you feel you could pay to give it a +1.
Pay one, block one. It's fine. It's
This is just, but blocking this is worse than Iron Rot, like Ironhide. So it's.
Well, I say I don't think it actually needed the blade break there. As all.
No, that's what I mean. If it was like Footsteps, right, where it was you could pay one to increase its block. I think you need to give it a way that it does break.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a condition, much like obviously Footsteps being blocked, blocking a 6+ attack. Make it a different condition, but give it something.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you can throw this in front of the Widowmaker, obviously without having to block it. It fulfills requirement of one card.
Yes, at least you don't. At least you don't have to pay that, which is good, I guess.
Yeah.
I think honestly, what might be more interesting is if you'd have made it Phantasmal Footsteps style effect. If you try to target into Guardian, maybe it could have been if it defends an attack with Go again, or something like that. Then it would break. But yeah, I don't know. I think there could have been some more interesting design space on this for me that would have made it.
Or like
better.
if it's defending an attack with an attack reaction or something. Then it
Yeah,
breaks.
exactly right. Like, I think there would have been some interesting space that could have caused it to be more interesting. But the top part might be good, but I'm not sold.
No, yeah, I think this gets a distinctive 1.5 from me.
I want to give it a little better. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 2.5.
Yeah, I think 2.5 fair to middling is fine. I think it has room to be way better and room to be way worse.
Yeah, I think I'd just look at a lot of the classes and they've got arm pieces that I'd run every time over this. And for our first piece of generic legendary arms, I just don't feel like it offers enough that I'm ever going to want to put it in a deck.
I mean, I don't know. Like I say, the only time I can even remotely think about playing it is this is a wholeheartedly a piece of anti-Oldhim tech right now, where he's running Crown of Seeds all the time, and I just want to be activating that top effect to just cancel his Crown of Seeds out. And Is that good enough? Probably not. But if it's impactful enough against Oldhim, maybe, and it's my worst matchup, maybe I can find a way if this makes a difference. But at the moment, I'm not sold, which I think for what is 2.5 for me. I just can't. Can't see it being.
I'm not shifting on that. I don't like the card.
I'm not a fan either.
Then we get the whole Seeker's gear, all the same stuff. Pay 1, destroy it, prevent the next one damage at 1.
It's fine, right? It's just stops you. It gives you an answer to a dagger being thrown at your face.
Yep.
Yeah, but also I think probably more importantly Benji as well, right? This is just more attempt to be able to interact with Benji's unblockable from hand damage, and I think the op one's a nice touch.
It is.
I like this a lot for like generic draft equipment that are all around. I think these are really good. In fact, you've got all those. I like them enough to give them probably a 3, maybe a 2.5.
Yeah, I got
2.5.
Yeah, 2.5 seems very reasonable. Something that's very middle. You're quite happy drafting this, and especially if you're playing Azalea as well, having that opt as well.
Like I say, it's big. I mean, as Azalea, I'd love to fill up any spots that I don't have. Like probably the headpiece you probably don't want because you want the one that blocks and gives you lets you look at the top card. Apart from that, you'd probably fill up some of the rest of these equipment slots with the Seekers set of equipment quite happily.
So we move on to the last bits of equipment. So we get the Silken Gi, we get a Threadbare tunic. Findel's fallen on some hard times. Fisticuffs,
in the pits.
and then the Fleetfoot sandals. So we're starting off with the gi.
I really like the gi actually. I mean, sure, is it most? I just think it's an interesting piece. The fact you pay a cost of losing an attack to reduce the cost to play something. I think that's a cool and interesting piece, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's definitely an interesting design, right?
It's interesting.
For sure.
I'm trying to work out how many attacks you're willing to pay the -1 to get a pitch. But I guess if you're doing it into something like what we said with Ninja, where you're trying to reduce the cost of lines, for example, you probably do this on like a cyclone, not the cyclone kick, the spinning kick.
I think honestly, the bigger thing for this is I'd probably snap pick this as Azori because my interpretation would probably be it applies to the first attack, it doesn't apply to the second.
100% yes.
So I would, if I'm already in Azori and I see this, I'd be like, oh, that's useful. I'm going to pick this relatively highly because I don't really pay the downside.
100% agree with that. I give this a 3.
Yeah, I like that. It's a 3 again. Solid piece of draft. Interesting as well, and I think some players won't care too much about the downside.
2.5.
Fair enough.
Threadbare tunic, destroy it, gain a pitch. Good for rock.
It's a weird one. yeah. Rock gamers, you can give up your deep blue now. You can now get 1 resource instead of 3. And have no cards in hand.
He's so mad.
I actually like this.
I quite like it. I think Ninja are gonna want some play on this, right? I mean, like,
I'm sorry, Brooks. If you've drafted Ranger or Assassin, imagine having Deathly Touch in your arsenal, and you full block, and then you get to present a 1 for 8 just off a tunic.
Yeah, I mean,
great.
I think my question would be: would you rather take this Threadbare tunic over the other one?
What other one?
The Silken Gi.
Either the Silken Gi or the Seeker's Gilet.
I'd definitely think about it for sure. Yeah,
I would as well. To be honest, I mean, I'd be quite happy with either of these. For Azalea, don't get me wrong, Seeker's Gilet is better. Yeah. But outside of that, maybe not. I mean, I can see sometimes you want to throw an attack from Arsenal. Yeah. This does allow you to pitch for Kodachis and then have enough to come out for an attack from 2. With cost 2 out of Arsenal. There's plenty of interaction here. Yeah, sure, it's not necessarily the most easy condition to trigger, but it's got utility.
Reasonable. I think I'd give this one a 2.5. I'd still think I'd take the Gi over it.
Yeah, I think it's 3.5.
I think 2.5 is pretty fine. Like you say, it's a nice interaction with Death Touch.
Fisticuffs.
This card's shit.
Hey,
Yeah,
we've got a proper Liam review.
It's a full out Liam review. I don't know. I don't hate this one. Sure, the cost is a bit prohibitive. Costing 2 here is rather rough, but at the end of the day, it's just still a threat at the end game, right? It's an attack reaction. It can push you over. Push you over in a limited environment.
Yeah, the threat of it's probably, it's like breaking
Yeah.
scales, but really, 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 really bad.
Yeah.
It's exactly it, right? If this blocked, the card would be. I'd be sitting here saying the card's really good in limited. The fact that it doesn't, obviously, it makes it a massively inferior breaking scales because it also costs, but it's also generic. You know, anyone can pick this up. And like you say, I think the threat of it on the table is pretty good. I would sooner have seen it be costing 1 though than 2.
Yeah, two just seems very prohibitive.
Yeah, for sure.
Give this a 2.
1.
1.5. I think I'll go in the middle.
Fair and reasonable. Fleetfoot Sandals.
It's a Benji card.
It's
Benji
not
will take
even.
these all day.
Yeah, but it's not even a massively great one. This could have been This could have been two or less base, right? Surely
It could have
Get to
been.
go
Yeah.
again, and I think it would have been fine. Like you say, it's definitely a Benji card, but I still don't think it quite just cuts it for me.
You might see it in the
At
Neil
least you don't have to
Arachne
pay
as well.
for it.
If
Yeah,
they've
maybe.
got a couple of blues and play the first one, it's got go again. Anyway, then you throw a blue one with a non-hit, give it go again. Throw a third
Yeah,
on a bigger
yeah,
turn.
potentially, I guess.
I think
I
it's still
don't know.
mainly Benji.
For me, I think this is still like a 1.5.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
go
One
much
or-
above that.
The 1 or less base is just really, it's going to feel rough. Anytime you throw in a one power attack that doesn't have a crazy on hit effect, it's just kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vipox.
Yeah, exactly, right? If Firefox was a Majestic in the set, I'd be like, oh, well, maybe. But yeah, it's not.
Right, so let's some slightly more exciting cards here. I think when we're in
Yes.
the
Like you say that, it's a bit
Majestiques.
mixed.
So we've got Amnesia.
If you hate ninjas, this is
Oh.
all I
Play
have to
this
say
card.
about this card.
You catch them with a hand would be like water, and they feel sad.
They certainly do. Or if you, like I say, I think if as soon as a ninja sees this, if your Katsu opponent is sitting across from you, and you just hit them with this, they're gonna be like, oh, for God's sake, why did you get this card out of the, all the chances of you getting Majestics? Why this one? Why have you got this?
Yeah, I like Amnesia in that very specific matchup because no one else really plays with the names of cards.
No.
So I'd go for 2.5, maybe 2.5, 3, 2 minutes, a bit unfair. Still
Yeah, I think
2 for 6 that blocks 3.
at the moment for me, yeah, the block 3 is pretty big. I still think it's about a 2, just because maybe there's some interactions we're not seeing with this. The fact that it references tokens is strange. So I don't know whether we're missing some interactions with how this works. I guess it'll be one of those. It's interesting to see the release notes, but for me, it's about a 2 at the moment, I think.
2.5. It's draft ninja hate, and they might like you said, John. There might be some interactions out there that we're just not fucking seeing.
Yeah, and the block 3 is certainly nice.
It is.
Down and dirty.
Yeah.
Liam, do you want
This
to go
card's
first on this one?
shit.
There you
This
go.
card's so bad.
This
I
card,
don't even want to say any more about that. The card sucks.
I'm glad it's not just me. I don't like this at all.
this card has one solitary upside, which is against Dromai or Illusionist. That's it.
Yeah.
And neither of those are in this set.
And I mean, if I'm doing that, do you know what? I'd like to just block with an attack action from hand, please, because he doesn't get me any benefit coming from Arsenal and any extra. So I guess you can just leave it there and wait till they give you a chance to trigger Phantasm. But
Literally,
I don't like this card.
the only world I can see is like you've got a bit of a shit hand. They've played like Dracona Optimine. They've hit all these things. Where they can do 6 arcane. You pitch 2 blues and then pop it. God, you got to go so specific to try and find points at which you'd actually want this.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, against Dromai, like you say, the only nice thing is it stops that massively telegraphed play where you're like, I end my turn with 2 cards in hand and do not Arsenal.
Yeah.
And the Dromai player's like, well, clearly you have a popper and are trying to hold on to it. At least with this, I guess you get to Arsenal the card
And play
and they
around,
just
plays around the
hopefully then
Dominion.
play into it. Yeah, for sure. And it does, like you say, play a man in Dominion. But that's not enough for this majestic.
I mean, like how much work are we trying to put into trying to make it's bad.
It's a bad card. Like the fact that it doesn't block 3, the
One.
fact that it's a 2 for 6 with no on hit, no nothing.
1. Maybe 1.5.
What?
I could be
Oh yeah,
persuaded.
1.
1.
Absolute 1.
Easy. Bit of give and take.
1. Honestly, this card seems pretty bad to me too.
Hard agree. So I'm not even going to go into this card too much. It's shit.
No, I don't want to. I think your opponent has all the control on it, which I don't like. They choose whether to defend it with an action card. They know probably what you're going to put on back on top of your deck.
But people were really, really high on bingo, which was no, they were, and then it was shit. Yes, it was.
Yeah, this is underrated as well though. Like at least Bingo had some potential, I guess. But still, this is.
I thought you were about to try and defend bingo as a card then.
Yeah, but at least Bingo, you had like it was an on hit, and they were forced to reveal. With this, it's a 3. If they've got any amount of health and they don't want to give you your action card back,
they
say no blocks.
Take 3, go again, move on with your life. Yeah. Card bad.
Gore belching?
It gets a 1. Gore belching, however, I think can be real neat.
I don't think so. I think the cards not blocking's a big downside, man.
It is.
The text on it means that you're very rarely going to get it for 7. Well, if ever.
Did we see someone do a gore belching and get it reduced to 1 before? Or was it the way
Good
around?
old Seb.
Yeah.
Seb.
Seb did hit a 6 off his gore belching. I don't think he'll be playing that card again. I think he learned his lesson.
The upside for this, and the reason I'm probably not as down on it, is again the Azuri thing, because it gets flashed in, it doesn't trigger the on play, and it can get razed.
2 words.
All I'm saying,
sneak attack.
Oh no.
All I'm saying, I did it. I tried it. It sucks.
Okay.
This is on the whole bad sneak attack for Azuri for me. It's the same stat line, but you've got to work harder for it, and it doesn't block.
Yeah. I mean, they're not blocking. It's definitely nowhere near sneak attack. I'd probably put this at
1.5.
I was going to go 2.
1.
Reasonable.
Wow.
I was nearly there.
Burdens of the Past.
Interesting piece
so
of
bad.
design space, but it's not. I don't see it being good. I think it's really interesting that I think the top and the first part, like the first section and the second section of text, kind of conflict to me. Like the moment that your opponent has 10 or more defense reactions in the discard pile, they're probably not playing anymore because they're all gone. So yeah, I'm gonna say a 1.
Yeah, I think I agree. 1 is definitely the place I'd be. Love the art though.
I guess it blocks 3 and it has go again, so that's the thing.
And it's a 0. Again, instant. At least Ninja might get something out of it.
Yeah, I suppose when it's wheeling around in a draft pack, they're like, oh, 3 block and blue, sign me up.
Yeah, I say, if that's the level you get down to, like I say, Liam, the art is real good. I get 1.5, not quite 1.
1.
Premeditate.
Oh,
This card's fucking poggers.
Mate, this card's great. I love it. You like Plunder Run, right? So we brought it back.
Yeah, we brought it back and just made it majestic.
Yeah, it's not quite Plunder Run, but not having to play it out of your arsenal is pretty damn good. I like this card a hell of a lot, and it's such a good Azalea card. God damn.
For Azalea, this is any range. This is so good.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty damn spectacular. Big fan.
Real big fan. 4.5. What an absolute machine this card is.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. You remember why Plunder Run got banned at times. This is, like I say, a slightly toned down version, and it's still right up there. I think 4's a very fair
Yeah.
rating, and I could be talked up to a 4.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say 4, but I've seen some of the work this has put in, like I said, getting that Ponder token to effectively replace itself at the end of your turn, guaranteeing Arsenal, and just like I say, Plunder and what it was a good card then. It's still a good card. There's a reason it's still banned.
Mm-hmm.
My 15 dominated arrow drawing a card is enough for you to put it to 4.5, George.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
Like I say, it deserves to be there. To be fair.
Humble.
Yeah, this is an interesting card. I must admit, I haven't really thought about this one very much, which probably says a lot. Sort of.
Is it
I
like
mean,
a race face, but just for hero abilities?
it's sleep dart, the generic attack, I guess.
Sleep
Yeah.
dust, I guess. Yeah.
But yeah, I must admit, I haven't really given this one a great deal of time or consideration, really.
Not bad.
It's not a bad attack. I think this would be a nice one for Azuri,
Yeah.
just to be able to flash in. In the mirror, this is pretty good, right? You hit your opponent with this, and then you feel safe next turn when they aren't
When
able
they
to do the
don't
same
flash
to you.
in.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they have to throw their humble at you like a normal person.
I love the sword in the art as well. They're probably like merciless battle sword, and it'll probably swing for 1.
Are you
worry.
still
It
scarred by
might be a
Merciless
set
Battle
ago,
Axe?
but I've still got that axe to grind.
Come on, Brooks. There's no
yeah.
warrior in this set. God damn it.
Calm down, Brooks. Come on, it's all right. It's okay.
Always get it.
It's over.
Yeah. So far, I'm still reeling from the buzzsaw trap, but I'd give this a, I say 2.5 or a 3, because you can
I
just
think a 2.5 is fair.
you can throw it with a Zuri quite happily.
2.5 seems fair to me.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Very reasonable.
The infectious host.
I really like this as a piece in the draft. To be honest, I just like the design space that it's in. The fact that you can, I like the theme of it. You know, the fact you punish your opponent for giving you all these horrible, all these horrible poxes and diseases and all
Give
these
it
horrible
back.
things. And yeah, you get to spread it straight back to them. So I like that. And the fact that it's not an on hit is pretty cool. In a draft environment where you're expecting to be given these regularly, this is pretty good.
I mean,
It's not amazing, but
I love the guy's face in the bottom right hand corner of this.
oh yes, that guy is not where he wants to be right now in the slightest.
That is the exact face I'll pull when I see a buzz trap coming out. No! It's accurate, but like I say, it does require your opponents of giving you some of these tokens. Otherwise, it's just a 4 for 2. It's just a 0 for 4. No go again.
Yeah. I mean, this is never going to see any play outside of limited, right? I'd be absolutely shocked, just because you're never going to be sitting down in the game and just assuming that your opponents are always going to be giving you these tokens. At least I'd be surprised. So, I mean, when you don't have them, this is pretty terrible of a 0 for 4.
It would have been great if this had stealth that you could play this and then give them the tokens and flash it out for something else in Azuri, but
that would be very rude.
It'd be hilarious. I think we're getting towards the back end of these now, so we've got looking for a scrap.
This feels like an Arachne card, right? I think for me, feels like it's probably looking at him. He wants to gain go again, wants to gain an additional attack. He might be running these low-powered ninjas attacks to banish, but I mean it's not exciting. So I'm thinking probably like a 2.5.
2 for me.
2.5.
Doesn't excite me. Wreck Havoc. Whether it should have said Wreak Havoc, we'll never know. Feels like a bit of a baby CNC, and that's what kind of everyone said when it got revealed.
Yeah, pretty much. A bit of a shame that the staple art for this set, the first art we saw, and everything else on a card that's a bit kind of meh. But yeah, it's okay. I like this as an interesting kind of CNC that obviously just just flat out destroy your arsenal, punishes you for the defense reactions. I do like that by all means.
And it might
It's a
even
little bit of Riptide hate, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it's not bad for Azuri either, being able to flash that in, particularly against Riptide.
equally,
For-
if it
for
turns
me-
the card face up as well, and it's not a defense reaction, it might stop them from getting an aim counter just for some of some effects. But
Yeah, it's very true. Very, very true indeed.
yeah, again,
But yeah, I think it's about 3 for me.
flash this in with Azuri. It's got the defense reactions can't be played, so it's chain link thing. So if they don't do it there and then, they're not playing them. So like Alpha and Isolate, it's probably gonna hit. But I'd give it a 3.
Yeah, 3 seems fair.
Now this is one I'm much more excited about, which is cut down to size.
Yeah, this seems like an Azuri card through and through.
Yeah. I know you were quite excited about this one, Liam.
Yeah, I'm actually testing this out in CC, to be honest. Not even just draft. Like, I think in a meta where people don't really want to block, I think forcing them to discard is pretty cheeky when you're flashing this card with Zori. So yeah, I really like this card a lot. Like, well, actually, I give this a 3.5, to be honest.
Yeah, I think 3.5 is about fair, to be honest.
Yeah,
Sounds pretty good.
It's just a good card. Just a good card. Flash it with
Yeah,
Azuri, or if you just have to play it, you're still going to force them to block with a card.
It's a solid on hit effect, I think. Now.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. Destructive Deliberation. I enjoy the flavor text, probably more so than the art. The art creeps me out a bit. I don't like it.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of flavor text in this set. It feels like on cards, but yes, it's a good one at least, I guess. But yeah, the cards so feels like again another one that Azuri might want to pick up. Doesn't feel great if you're just throwing this out without without anything else, with just face up. But I mean, when it isn't, it's on hit ponder, so it's pretty good.
2 for me.
Yeah, I think 2.5 is probably fine.
2.5.
Look at him, the optimist over there. Feisty Locals. Kind of funny. Like, I think it can describe some of our armories at times.
Yeah, this is okay, I guess. Having that buff effect is quite good. The fact that it comes in for 3 with no go again is a little sad. And yeah, not really any way in the set to gain go again particularly. Not great. I'm going to go for a 2.
Yeah, I think a 2 is completely fair for this. Again, good flavor text.
Yeah, I'll go with 2. I would like to kill someone by flashing this out as a Zori.
Yeah, that'd be
Where
quite
he's
cool.
defended by 1 card and you get the +2 and that's all you need to kill him. That would be an interesting kill. Apart from that, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Then I guess we have the opposite of Feisty Locals apparently with 3 reigning renegades. So it's.
I mean, I would have liked to have got a Cutlass in this set, but yeah, it is almost effectively the polar opposite.
I actually think this one's worse.
Yeah, it drops to
I
a
agree.
4, doesn't it? So
I suppose that's the only upside, right? Is at the red, you're still over a break point, but you are paying 1 for it. So yeah, I'm not a fan of this card at all. I guess with Azuri, you can see what they're gonna do, but it still doesn't feel good, really.
Yeah, I think this is it gets 1.5 for me. It's
Yeah,
okay, but I'm still not excited. It definitely doesn't excite me, and it wouldn't be.
I think 1.5 is probably where you want to be at.
Agreed with that.
And I know a lot of people wanted pirates, so you're kind of getting them drip fed in with the trench and their characters like this. And then we just get a load of reprints. I think we've got Ravenous Rabble, Seek,
Yeah, I'd like to see those back.
Springload is a new card.
Springload's an interesting card, I think, as well. I mean, we're looking for uses for Threadbare Tunic before.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one, I think. It can be used for it. 1 for 5 from Arsenal isn't terrible.
No, just something to try and keep the pressure up. Again, won't excite me much past a 2.
Yeah, I think 2's reasonable. It's not going to be something I'm going to be drafting particularly highly, but I guess
It's an
maybe this is
interesting one.
yeah.
Because you have to pay for this with your you'd have to pay for this with Threadbare, right, to get the +3. Because when
No,
you
you
attack
No,
can
no.
it, no.
you can have 2 cards in hand and play Spring Load pitching for it, and
Yeah.
you get the +3.
Okay.
So, but yeah, then we got
You
what?
too.
Yes, yeah.
Uh,
Then over to Come to Fight.
Come to Fight, which we
Reprint.
ran from one of the articles. Scout the Periphery.
This is an interesting card. I think Azalea's gonna like this a lot in draft. Again, this is like a budget read the glide path. You don't actually get to opt, but you do get to just look at the top card of your deck instead, decide if it's worth it, and then +3 on an attack from Arsenal, which is pretty good.
Probably a 2.5 for this. It's okay. If you have to play it, you'll play it, especially in draft. But
I think this is
three.
quite a high pick for Azalea, right?
Yeah, I'd
I
snap
think
the
this
red
is
to
a 3,
these.
3. Give me a red in this in Azalea draft 3.5 all day.
wow.
I'll take this.
Like honestly, it's not that different from a read the glide path. Like literally being at the bottom of the card is about the only difference. Now that's big. Don't get me wrong, and that's the only thing that stops this being like near CC playable because it's really good. This also has the advantage of, unlike some of the other buffs for Azalea, this can apply to things like it can apply to your Death Touch.
Oh, that's true.
You know. And for Riptide, again, this is probably really good just because he doesn't care about looking at the top of the deck, but you play this, you reload the Death Touch, and then you fire it off with Threadbare Tunic potentially.
Yeah, that's fairly true. I mean, I think just looking, I was looking at thinking if you were going to take this over Spire Sniping, for example, I just think Spire Sniping is just better, but...
Yeah, for sure.
This ain't
Particularly
bad.
for Azalea, like the end of the day, like I say, Spire Sniping is like a CC card. This is definitely a draft card, but it's not a million miles away from being playable, from being CC playable. But it's very good. I like it a lot. I mean, I think if you're Riptide, you probably just look at your opponent's top card just because you can give yourself a little bit of knowledge about what they might do next turn. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad card in the slightest. I like it a lot. I would go 3.5.
Nice. And then Brush Off. The next time you'll be dealt 3 or less damage this turn, prevent it, or the whole cycle of it as a generic instant.
It's fine.
Some wonderful just prevention for Benji, right? This is your way of stopping him in the set of again just trying to clamp down a bit more on the damage.
I think they even show it in the art. The blue is you can prevent the dagger if it's getting flicked at you.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you say, between Benji and daggers, that's kind of what it's for.
This does feel a bit sad that we've got this level of prevention in a set with flick knives. The one time that maybe the legendary would be unpreventable and could win you a game, and the number of times that you might end up just giving up your dagger and having it brushed off is a bit sad.
And then I don't think we need to go over the tokens. We've already talked about a lot. But the last card from the set for a slightly longer episode than the previous, because I think there's a couple more cards. Peace of Mind.
I don't know how you guys feel about this one. Go on, Ian.
Yeah, I think we spoke about this in the previous episode,
We
right?
did, yeah.
But I think this card's really good. I'm still adamant that it just fits into the old combinations of pitching the blue and preventing an absolute fuck ton of damage. I'm not going to go into it because I did it in the previous episode, but I think this card's really good.
Nothing's changed for you then on that one.
No.
I don't think it has for me either. I'm still going to give this like a... I don't know. It's either a 3.5 or a 4. I haven't tested it or anything myself, so I don't know whether it works as well as I think it would in theory. But it feels like it should be like a 4 at least.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go 3.5. I don't think I'd go as high as a 4 on it, but like I say, in certain decks it's definitely hitting that level of 4, maybe 4.5. But generically, I'm not sure how many people are going to want to pay 2 to prevent 4 in a Ponder.
One thing I will say, right, is I had this conversation with George before. I feel like Ponder tokens for me are becoming so valuable. It's actually kind of insane. I don't know if that's because I'm specifically playing Azalea, but giving me a Ponder token as Oldhim as well is fucking nuts.
I mean, I think if we start looking at this outside of the likes of Oldhim as well, and you look in the draft environment, this is actually really, really good with all the Seekers equipment.
Yeah.
Just because you pitch a blue, you prevent 4 and you prevent 1. and it can be on 2 separate sources of damage. But over your turn, you get to prevent 5 off 2 cards, which I think is particularly bad when you get that Ponder token, which will then give you a card back at the end of the turn. So I think that could be pretty damn impactful.
Yeah, I think it can be really impactful from the right decks, and like say a Ponder especially in something like Old and giving you that guaranteed arsenal. It's so good. So, but that, folks, is that. So, without over-egging this, because like Liam alluded to at the start, we have smashed through all 4 of the episodes for this. So, just generically speaking about the whole set, how are we feeling about Outsiders? You know, what sort of hype levels are you boys at for this now?
Hype is 5 for
Oh,
draft. Hype is 5 for CC. You know what? I'm a 4 for sealed, and I hate sealed.
I think I'm in the same boat on that one, mate. I am really excited for the sealed. Just way more than I have been in a long time. The format may end up being terrible, but I think I just want to get the cards in my hands at this point. It's very exciting to get these and play with it and test these theories. And CC, yeah, I'm just excited the idea of potentially playing Azalea again and it not being bad.
Yeah, I'm buzzing for this. I think we've all been, because Dynasty didn't seem to have shake things up too much. The Bandom was suspended we had didn't seem to shake things up too much. I think adding these new heroes, I think having a new draft set, it's going to feel real good to do something that isn't Uprising draft. I know.
Oh god, yeah.
I know Arms would probably agree with us.
Certainly.
But no, I think this is. Like I say, it's just going to be a long ass wait now to the pre-release weekend, where I think we've got a Friday and a Saturday, haven't we?
Sounds about right.
So, so if you had to rate, so we rate the set, I'd give it a 5. I just want it in my hands right now.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
4.5,
preemptively.
but
We'll find out. It's hard to rate before we get to play pre-releases, before we get to play our first draft. But just purely on the how hyped I am for it, it's got to be a 5. Just to go and get out there and give it a go, and like you say, to do something other than Uprising.
Agreed.
well, for anyone still with us, you know, I'd say like and subscribe, but Jesus Christ, you stayed there that long, I won't patronise you.
Yeah, well done if you've made it through all of these.
But no, thank you very much for watching, for listening, and for sticking with our probably bad takes. I'm sure we'll be back very shortly with our experiences from the pre-release. I'm sure Liam will want to show off his Ocean Man decks and what shenanigans George is getting up to with Azalea. But for anyone still watching and listening, thank you very much. I'll catch you on the next one, and I'll catch you soon, gents.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.